Hey there everybody, this is Caitlin here, and today we are back with another Force of Will deck profile video for you today. Last time I showed you my new and improved Sylvia deck that we did in the last video, and today we are going to be looking at a ruler that I haven't actually built a deck for yet, mainly because I was kind of nervous to, because it seemed a little bit too complicated to build a deck revolving around this ruler, but I've kind of like brushed it off. I've been thinking, you know what, I'm not going to be scared of this ruler just because there's a lot of words and stuff, and you know, there's a lot of different things that you can do with it. I'm just going to do it like this way. Like, I was thinking about it and I was wondering, you know what, I could probably do something like this. I mean, it might not be the most competitive deck out there, but it was kind of an idea I was playing around with. And so you're probably wondering, well, what is this ruler? Well, you'll probably already know because you read the description in the title. But today we are looking at Kaguya, the Kaguya that came out with Moonlit Savior. If the camera would focus on her so you could look at her. Friend from another world Kaguya, who is a wanderer slash little girl. And I think it was confirmed in the lore, at least in the kind of the story posts that they do on the official Force of Will websites, that this reborn Kaguya is not immortal like her previous self. She's no longer a goddess. She is no longer a priestess. She is like a wanderer. So she is technically human. She's not, you know, she's mortal. But she's a wanderer now, so she's like Alice in that she can feel like the sense of other dimensions and stuff like that, and she can travel between them, which is pretty cool. So for our friend Kaguya here, her judgment is 1 light, 1 moon, and then 1 void, which is pretty, like, you know, simple. That's a 3 cost. But her special ability that we really like is that when we spend Moonwill, we can spend it as if it's green. So it's kind of similar to Sylvia in that you can spend fire as green, but with Kaguya here, we can do it with moon, which is kind of neat. And whenever a moon enters our field, we can draw a card. For this deck, we are not going to be focusing too heavily on the kind of moon drawing mechanic or whatever. We're probably just going to ignore that for this deck. I will probably do a different deck where we focus more on the moon and like rabbits and stuff, like to do with Kaguya. But this one is actually going to be Sailor Scout Angels, or the Sailor Angel Scouts or whatever, because it's actually going to be angels supporting Kaguya. And when we flip her over, she has lots of fancy Nancy text because her card is so super shiny and nice. But if the light would like not glint too hard in the card so I could actually read it here. She is 700 and 900. She still retains the ability to produce green from Moonwill whenever she's flipped over, which is really nice because sadly Sylvia doesn't retain that ability, which is like kind of sucky, but you know, we learn to live with it. And whenever we awaken a card, we can put 2 100/100 counters on this card, which, you know, is very nice. We can stack up counters. We can pay 1 Moonwill, and we can cancel a target automatic ability. I know there's a lot of, like, arguments as to what counts as automatic ability, and I think the actual wording of it is that it has to say, like, when or at the start of it in order to count as automatic. There's still a lot of debate going on back and forth about what counts, but I think that's usually the go-ahead where, like, you know, when or at is a good way to indicate whether it's automatic ability. We can also play 1 light and 1 void to prevent the next damage that would be dealt to this card for this turn. And her gods art, which is, if I can actually read it through the card here because it's actually quite hard to read on the full art, Light of the Sacred Moon, which is a hefty cost of 1 light, 1 moon, and 3 void, which, you know, you think is quite expensive for a gods art, but what it does is we rest all J/Resonators our opponent controls, and then we recover all our magic stones that we control, and we can pay awakening costs and 1 moon less this turn. And obviously we can only do it once per game. So like most of the awakenings that have to do with Kaguya, you awaken them with moon. So if you recover all your stones, you know, you've paid at least 5, so you probably have at least 5 stones anyway. You can play all sorts of things like in this deck. A couple of them do have awakenings and stuff, so that's kind of handy considering that you know, we're going to be using the moon a lot in order to support our angels. And what are we going to use in terms of our other resonators that are going to be in this deck? Well, first of all, the first 2 things that are 1-drops aren't actually angels, but they're mainly there for ramping, so that we can ramp into our angels, our spells, and, you know, our awakenings. So first off, we have 4 of the Moonbreeze Elf, which essentially, in terms of this deck, is replacing Elvish Priest from the previous cluster. Because she, when she taps, she produces a Moonwill, which, you know, with Kaguya, technically spends for green. So we can easily get Moonwill for awakenings, we can get Moonwill for judgmenting and doing Kaguya's abilities. And we can also use it to just spend for green. And she's only a 1-cost green, which is pretty nice. And also she cannot be attacked. So what's good is that our opponent can't target her for attacking. They can still remove her with removal spells or whatever, because obviously she's got 100 attacks, so she's kind of vulnerable to unseen pressure and things like that. But I think she's kind of nice. She kind of suits. She's essentially the green ramp that we have. And in terms of light ramp, we are running the Wind Sprite at 4 as well. So these are essentially our 1-drops. The 1-drops, their main goal is just to provide some early ramping so that we can get into some of our other Resonators who are maybe a little bit more costly, or so that we can keep up our spell support. So she taps for producing light. She is also a green Resonator, green 1-drop, 200, which is not too bad. The only downside in terms of this deck is that neither of these guys have flying, but that's not too bad because we're not really fussed about losing them later in the game. We really just want to keep them early game so that they can provide some extra will and stuff for us to support the rest of our deck. Going into some of the more beefier cards, which are obviously our angels, and our, well, actually, all of these are angels, technically. I didn't include any of the wingmen, or the wingmans, whatever you pronounce the Resonator title as, because I wanted to focus the wingmen on a deck with Arla. So these ones are purely angels. We don't have any wingmen in here, just so we can get the kind of angel support here. But next we have 4 of the Angel of Wisdom, Cherudim, who, if people who love the artwork for this card game, they like to know that he looks like he has a broken hand. Just because, his hand looks awkward as all heck. It's like, what are you even doing? What is happening with your hand? But essentially, he is a 2-drop for 500, which is pretty decent for a 2-drop. He has flying, and he has an awakening, which is only 1 moon, which is pretty awesome, which is when this card enters our field, we destroy a target fire or darkness resonator, and if we do, we put 2 100 counters on this card. So it can become a 700 if we awaken it and do the thing. So basically, we're only awakening it if we know we can destroy a fire/dark resonator, which, considering most top decks that you see at your local game stores and stuff like that, most people are either running fire or dark half the time. So we are most likely going to be destroying something if we can get that awakening off. Next up, we have one of the new angels that we got for Battle for Ataratka. We have the Guardian Angel, Raphael, who every time I look at this angel, it reminds me so much of Bayonetta. I don't know, I think it's just a short haircut at the front, and she is definitely a she, because, I think Raphael was meant to be a male angel, but, Force of Will like to turn males into females and females into males all the time. But Raphael here is a 3-drop. It's 400, 800, which may seem a little bit bad at first, but going into her abilities, she has flying, obviously. Our opponent cannot play cards from their chance standby area during our turn, and our opponent cannot play activate abilities of J/Rulers or Regalia during our turn as well, which is kind of nice, because I think this was the card. I don't know whether they were referring to this as the card that was going to kind of stall Reflect Refrain a little bit. I don't know if they were meaning to refer to the Reflect Refrain shifter, but I think this is one of the cards they were meaning is to slow it down just a little bit. It means that they can't play anything on their turn, but I'm not entirely sure. I need to double check on that. But anyway, she does have a nice defense, so even though she's not got the best attack, she does have quite decent defense, so we can still block with her and make sure that our opponent isn't going to be playing any sneaky chance standbys. And the last 2 Resonators that we have are actually, they coincide with each other, so I'll just explain them together. We have the Dignified Seraph, and we have the Celestial Wing Seraph. Now, if you've seen my Shion Dark Depths profile, you'll know that, the Wing Seraph, we use her in order to get out our Lucifer. And I was contemplating using Lucifer in this build, but I went against it for a couple of reasons. One of the main reasons was that, this is a light green deck, well, white/green deck. There's no really room for darkness. I mean, if I wanted to run Lucifer, I probably could, but the problem would be if we accidentally drew into Lucifer, then we would be kind of screwed because he requires dark to play, and we're not running any dark. And I didn't want to run a Ruler's Memoria just for this off chance that we say draw a Lucifer and, we have to play it from hand. Ideally, we want to either search out the Dignified Seraph and play her instead, or, search out an angel that we know that, wouldn't be a bad thing to have. So if, I'm keeping the Dignified Seraph in here because I felt like having Lucifer in here wouldn't really benefit us. Like, sure, we could, like, remove a thing and we can spend the Moonwell and stuff to, like, absorb life or whatever when we're doing damage, but I just felt like it would be totally out of place in terms of the theming of this deck. This deck is entirely, like, moon and green and white, so I felt like just having random darkness wouldn't work. It works in the Shion Dark Depths one because that one's a dark blue one. So it makes perfect sense for him to be there, even though, like, the Seraph's not really dark or blue, but I digress. So for the Dignified Seraph, it's a 4 cost, which is why we're kind of hoping to search it out with the Seraph. It's 800, and has flying. That's basically it. And also, you know, she's totally cute and adorable and whatnot. And, you know, if you've seen my decks before, you should probably know what the Seraph does already, but just in case you forgot, she is a 5-drop, 1000. She has flying. When she enters, we can search out an angel with 4 cost or less and put it into our field. And whenever this card attacks, we gain 300 life for each angel we control. So we're controlling at least, like, 4 different kinds of angels, including the Seraph. So if we get the other Seraph out, then, you know, that counts itself or whatever. Plus, you know, she is quite a big body with her 1000, which is pretty nice. Going into our spells now that are going to be supporting this deck and why we really want to ramp up is because most of these are spell chant instants, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, the majority of them are spell chant instants by the look of it. We are running 4 of Shining Strike, which, you know, is, like, totally pretty with Kaguya firing off her magical beam here. If the camera would like to focus on the card. Well, we're technically choosing 2 because, well, actually, we can choose the second one if our J-Ruler is Kaguya. Yeah, so we can choose one, rest target Resonator, draw a card, or rest target J/Resonator and draw a card. So essentially, we are resting something and then choosing to draw a card, which is the basis of it. And obviously, it's a 1-drop light. So we can just, like, plant this, boom, whenever we want to. It's, like, say if, like, our opponent is maybe going to, say, block with something, we can say, no, you're not going to block with that, because it's already going to be rested. Or, say, if we are going on the attack, and well, most of our stuff flies over anyway, but if they happen to have something with flying, then we can just, like, boom, rest this, draw a card, and do that as we want. That's kind of like the good thing with this deck, is that most of these things are flying, so we don't have to worry too much about having to hit stuff in the face, because I don't know, like, I'm trying to think of how many flyers there are in the game. Most of them, they run together, but, like, on the off chance, we can just rest it. Next, we have a spell, which is basically built for Kaguya here, is we have the Seal of Wind and Light, which is 1 green and 1 light. It's one of those rare kind of like jewel color spells, which we got in Moonlit Savior. Basically, it's cancel target spell, and we can awaken it, and the player cannot chase this card, basically, if we spend a Moonwell. So if we play this and we awaken it, then we can make sure that our opponent cannot respond with it. They can't, like, say, chase this card with another card or whatever to negate this, which is pretty nice. Also, the artwork for this is really nice. I really like the kind of style that Kaguya has here. She's got, like, the wind seal and she's got the light seal. It's really, really, really pretty. I really want to get that in, like, foil or whatever. And then our last spell that we have is the Luminescent Bamboo Bullet, which is, like, quite a mouthful to say when you think about it. This one is actually a spell chant, not a spell chant instant, so I apologise, I got confused there. It's 2 cost, and we can destroy a target rested Resonator, and we can destroy up to 1 more second target Resonator if this card was awakened, and the awakening is just 1 moon and 1 void, which is really nice. So a lot of these cards that we've got, they can help with resting Resonators. I think one of the additions we have focuses on resting a Resonator. So we can use this to make sure we can get rid of stuff that we've rested. And going into our additions that we have for this deck, we have 3 of the Seal of Shining Bamboo. This one's, like, super foily, so it's kind of hard to read, so I'll pick this one up so that we can read it. So this addition is that when we add it, it's only 1 drop. We can add it to a Resonator, and that Resonator cannot attack. And if we pay 1 Moonwell, then we can rest the Resonator that's attacked to. Oh god, the light is, like, shining on this card so much. So what we can do here is that we can attach it to an opponent's Resonator. Say, attach it to something that's got quite beefy attack, and we're kind of scared that it's going to attack us. We're just like, yeah, you can't attack this guy now. And also, if we want to pay a Moonwell, then we can rest it, and then use our bamboo bullet there to destroy it and get it out of the way, which is, like, totally evil, and I love it. I love it so much. Next up, we are running 3 of the Heavenly Garden of Armalla, which I feel is like essential to run if you know that your deck is going to have a majority of flyers. Mainly, like all our angels fly. So essentially, like, we're getting 4 different Resonators that are getting beefed up by this garden here. You know, because it gives all our flyers 200, 200. And, you know, if we want, we can pay to light and rest, and we can rest a target Resonator without flying. So we can even target those things that don't have flying that our opponent has. Just in case, like, we don't have the access to the spells. And our last edition that we're running is, like, another edition which I feel like maybe not a lot of people like because of its kind of, like, cost or whatnot, but with our ramping, we can, like, assure that we can, like, actually play it, which is the Rhythm of Life, which I totally love mainly for the artwork, because it's just, like, this epic dinosaur just, like, chilling out in the background here, being all, like, a spirit and stuff. So the added Resonator gains 800 to 800, which is insane considering like a lot of these things here. We have like a 500, 500, a 400, 800. If we attach this to our Seraph, that's a 1,800. That's pretty insane. But also, if like the card when this card is put into the graveyard from our field, we can put it into our hand. So even if the thing that this is attached to dies, we can get this card back, which is why we're only running 3 of it. I don't feel like we need a playset of it. And finally, for the main deck, we have our Regalia, which is the Regalia for Kaguya, which is the Interdimensional Vessel Apollo, which is apparently the vessel that Kaguya used in order to cross into the world of Ataratica, which was like revealed in the story. Which is kind of weird, because this doesn't really look like a spaceship, does it? It kind of looks like some kind of Easter egg. In all honesty, in my opinion, it looks like an Easter egg. But I digress. This gives our Kaguya flying. If the camera would like to focus on the card, there we go. It gives Kaguya flying, and we can tap it and we can produce Moonwell, which we can only spend on awakening abilities or to play our Judgment or God's Art for our ruler with Kaguya in the name, which is, you know, kind of neat because we need the moon in order to Judgment her. And also we can tap it and banish this card, and we can return a target Resonator we control into our hand, just in case we want to try and save something like our Seraph or something, in case it's getting targeted. And then going into our magic stones, for this deck, of course, with Kaguya, it's almost essential that we run her Memoria, which is the, if I can actually read it, this one's the full art, so it's kind of hard to read a little bit in the light. The Moonbreeze Memoria, sorry. We tap it and it produces moon or light, but essentially because Kaguya can produce green from her Moonwell, it's essentially we can produce green and moon and light, which is pretty neat. And also the full art just looks totally gorgeous. Like, look at how shiny that is. I need a playset of them so badly. Next up, we have 4 of the Magic Stone of Gusting Skies. Again, as I was talking about in my Sylvia video, I am still including Jewel Stones in my decks, mainly because we know that they're getting reprinted in Vingolf 2. So that's why they're here now. Obviously, Vingolf's not out yet at the time of recording this, so I'm just like substituting it in with the older ones. But they technically don't rotate out till September, but we're getting the new ones at the end of July anyway, so, you know, I'm just using these as kind of like proxies now. I don't know whether they're going to use the same artwork or whether we're going to get new artwork. I kind of wish we'd get new artwork because, you know, as much as I like this one, it kind of looks pretty, I would like some, like, new art. Like, that would be kind of cool. So, it obviously produces green and it produces a light, so we don't need to worry about that. And finally, just to round it off, because, you know, I like to run, well, you need at least a 10 stone deck anyway, so, like, we're just going to round it off with 1 light stone and 1 wind stone, just so we've got, like, an even amount of chances to produce either colour, just in case we don't really want to get colour screwed. There's a very low chance that we'll actually get colour screwed in this deck, but, you know, I digress. But also, I also wanted to highlight how this deck, the sleeves are Rin and Lune. I don't know why I chose to sleeve them in this, but I thought these sleeves would be really cute for this deck, you know, and they're kind of yellow, so it matches with the theme. And also, I have this awesome Force of Will deck box here, which you can't really see because of my camera, but look, it's got the light symbol on it, and it's really nice and kind of leathery and stuff like that. So, it's a really nice deck box for this deck. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile video. Let me know what you thought in the comments of this build. I will be doing a kind of variant on this, which is going to be Arla with wingmen and angels, but I kind of need to get a couple of cards first before I can actually show you that deck because I've not got all the components for it yet. So until next time, guys, I will see you all later.